Alright guys, so the next section we're going to be building is this market section with the hover effects and the about us section. So the first thing we need to do is just create the markup. So we've got the markets section, and what we're going to put in here is just a section with the ID of markets. So when we click on the navigation bar, it will take us to this, and then we want the background to be that BG secondary. Hit tab, and then inside this we want a H1 with the class of section title, because if you look over here in the browser, you'll see this market section is really similar to the team section. So this has a utilities class. So just want to hit tab on that, and we're just going to say markets. And then underneath the markets, we're going to have a flex container, which is going to have 3 flex items. So we're going to have flex items, and we also want to put a class for markets. And then inside this is going to be our icon, which is going fas.fa dash space dash shuttle. Hit tab, and we should go back to the browser, and you see our little icon there. So we'll go underneath this, and we're going to have a H2, which is going to say aerospace, and then underneath the H2 we're just going to have some dummy text. So lorem, let's say about 4. So again, we're just going to duplicate this 2 more times, and the second one is going to be a, what is it going to be, a search. So for research. And the third icon is going to be for a heartbeat, so for medical. And then that should be it for our market section. Now underneath this, we're going to build the about section, or about us section. So the way this is going to be laid out again is another section of semantic tag, and then this is going to have the ID of about. And it's also going to have a flex container 2 class. So it's our second flex container utility. And then this is going to have a row, a div with a class of row, which is going to house 2 columns. So well, the first column is going to house our image, and the second one is going to house all the content. So we'll go inside the first one, and it's going to be a let's put a div, sorry, of a column 2, column 1, and inside here is going to be our image. So img, it's going to be about us, and then for second column here, we're also going to have a class of column 2, and this is just going to have a h2 for about us, and then also a paragraph with some dummy text. So lorem 4 for this too, and then we're going to have a anchor tag styled as a button, which isn't going to go anywhere, but this is going to have the class of that secondary button. So secondary btn, and it's just going to say learn more. And if we scroll down, we should see all our content there. So the market section and the about us section with our button here. So the first thing I want to do is sort out the utilities class for the markets, or for the section title. So we'll go underneath button hover, and we're going to say section title styling. So this has got a class of section title, and the first thing I want to do, is just make this a bit bigger. So well, quite a bit bigger actually. So 7 rem. So it's nice and big, and then we want the width of this to be 50%, and then the margin to be 0 on the top, automatic or auto on the left and right, and then 3 rem on the bottom, just so it gives it a bit of space between the items. And the next thing I want to put in here is a border bottom of about let's say 0.3 rem solid. And it's going to have that primary color. And then what I also want to do is just put the text line center, so the markets bit goes in the middle. So that looks pretty good. Now the next thing I want to do is style this market section. So this has a class of, let's say, let's put comment here of flex container. Because it's for the markets and the team section, we're going to put markets and team. So this has a class of flex container, and what I want to do is display flex, so the items stack up next to each other like that, and then horizontally I want them to have a space around them, so a nice bit of space around them, and then vertically I also want to put them in the center. So align items center, and then all the content I want this to be central as well, so text align center, and that puts all the content in the middle. Now the next thing I want to do is just give a bit of style into the items, so they've got a class of flex container flex items, and I just want to add some padding here, so padding about 5 rem, and then margin of about 2 rem. And then from here I want to go inside the general style sheet and just actually give the section here some styling. So first I want to grab the ID of markets. So in here I just want to make sure the width of this is 100% of the container, and then underneath this I want to grab the class of markets, which is inside all the flex items, and I just want the border of this to be that blue color solid, let's say 0.3 rem. And then the next thing I want to do is just increase the size of the icons and the content inside, so markets I for the icon, and say font size for this be 5 rem, and then for the markets H2s I want the font size of this to be 3 rem. And then I also want a bit of margin between these items, so just say margin 1 rem. And then just want to style the paragraph, so the paragraph of markets, and then say font size of these to be about 2.5 rem, which looks pretty good. But we want the border radius now to be circular, so how it is here, and we also want this hover effect of this nice transition. So to do that, I'm going to go inside the utilities, and I'm going to go underneath the flex items bit here, and then I want the border radius to be 50%, and then just add a hover effect in the markets. So I'm going to say markets hover, so when we hover over these it will change to that background of blue, and then also the color of the text or the items or the content inside to be white. So if I hover over these now, it changes to the background color of blue and the content turns to white. But I don't really like this sharpness. I want a nicer smooth transition. So to do that, I'm going to go inside this section here and say transition all 0.3 seconds ease. And then if we hover over these, you can see it's got that nice transition into the background of blue and the color of white, which looks pretty good. So the next bit we're going to style is this about us section. So I'm going to go underneath, go back in the utilities and create another utility class. So flex class for about us, and it's also going to be about for the contact section. So the thing I need to do here is first grab the flex container 2 and make sure the width of this is 100%, and then inside this I've got a class of row which I want to display as flex. So you see now the items are stacked up next to each other in a row, and I just want to make sure the width of these is 100%. Now after the row, you see like the columns aren't actually the same size, the image is a lot larger. So to fix that, we need to grab the so grab the row and then grab the columns. Is it columns or column? So column, yeah, and then go inside here, and then all we need to do is just set a flex of 1, and they're now the same size. Now what flex 1 does is they grow at the same rate, so they're all growing at a flex of 1, so it doesn't matter what number you put in here, it'll be the same. So they're growing at an equal length, that's why now they're the same size. And then I just want the height of these height of the columns to be 100% of the row. So the next thing I want to do is just make sure the images are also 100%. So row, column, image, I want the height of this to be 100%. So the next thing we need to do is just give a bit of height to the content, so column 1 and 2. So this is a row, and then a column, and then column 1, column 1, and then 2, and we're just going to give this a height of, let's say, 60 rem, and that should make our content a bit bigger. And then the next thing we need to do is we've given this a class of, I'm going to give this a class of column to flex, so we can put the items to the center right, which you can see here. So to do that, we'll grab that utilities class, and then we'll go underneath this bit here, and we'll just say display flex, and then flex direction we want to stack on top of each other, so column, and justify content. Now remember, justify content switches role, so it becomes the vertical, and the align items become the horizontal axes. So we want this to be on the flex end. I should move the items to the end, and then let's just give this a bit of padding so it's more central. So I'd say about 2 rem, and yeah, it gives us a little bit of space, maybe 2.5, and that's that little bit of space. Now what we need to do is just style this little section here. So I'm going to go underneath the market section, and we're going to say about us styling, and the thing we need to do is we need to grab the let's first grab the ID of about, and make sure this has a width of 100%, and then also the H1 in this case, so oh no, H2, so it's about, and then column 2 H2, and make this a lot bigger, so font size about 7 rem, make that nice and big, and then also do the same for the paragraph. So instead of H2 we're going to say the paragraph, and then we're going to put this about 4 rem, and we want the text to align at the end, so text align end, and that should put our content there. So it looks pretty good. Yeah, and we have our button, and the button isn't hovering. Why is it not hovering? So oh, it's because we haven't actually styled the hover class. So if we hover over this again, yeah, it's got that little nudge upwards to make it less static. In the next video we're going to be building the team section, which has this little effect here, and then the contact section. But because we've created these classes now for the markets and the about us section, this section should be pretty quick. So I'll see you guys in the next video.